Hi, my name's Pete from PJG Creations and welcome to another short tutorial video on learning Visual Basic with Visual Studio 2012. In a previous video I introduced you to basic logic using the if, else and if statements. Today I'm going to expand upon that slightly by introducing the ElseIf statement as well as the select case statement. So let's jump into Visual Studio. So here you can see I've created a very basic WPF application. I have a combo box which contains the items 1, 2 and 3 and a button that simply allows us to check which of those items the user selected. What we want to be able to do is write some code that simply checks which value it is and pops up a message box when the user presses the check button. So if we go to the code behind, we'll use the if statement that I used in the previous video, and now we'll introduce the else if statement as well. So what we want to do is check what text is in the combo box. Now the first item is 1, so if the combo box has got 1 selected, then we want to pop up a message box saying something like, well done, you've selected 1. Now, we're going to introduce the else if statement. This simply allows us to string along another if statement into this set of statements. So we need to see if the combo box has a 2. And if it has, we need to pop up a little message saying, excellent, that's number 2, or something along those lines. And finally, we need to check if the user has selected 3 in our combo box. 3. And then we need to pop up a little message box telling them that, so we can say, Brill, that's number 3 you have selected. Simple. So let's run the application and see what it does. And here it is. So we defaulted to 1. If we press the check button, well done, you've selected 1. Just as that line says. And then 2. Excellent, that's number 2, as we'd expect. And then finally for number 3, well, that's the number 3 you've selected. So as you can see, this is very similar to the previous tutorial video, only now we've added in some extra checks here. This is very handy, and you can string together as many of these as you like. And you don't necessarily have to limit yourself to simply checking from one item. You could convert that text to a number, for instance, and check to see if it's greater or less than another number. However, there's another way to do this, and that's to use the select case statement. If I leave this here but comment it out for now, because we don't need it, but it's nice to refer to it, we use the select case statement to replicate what we have above. So we're interested in the text that's in the combo box. So we're selecting a case based on the text in that combo box. So we can see that we've got 3 cases, effectively, 3 different options. It can be 1, 2 or 3. And that case is based on what we can see here in the 2 and the 3. So if we make a case for 1, case for 2 and a case for 3, now you can see the first case statement reflects the first if statement. The second case statement reflects this first else if statement here. The third case statement refers to the final else if statement. So we can do a very similar thing here. If we just copy, save ourselves from typing, each of these message boxes, you can see that we've now replicated the if, else if, and if statements above using a slightly different methodology using the select case statement. The results will be identical, and we can check that. So here's our application again. 1 is selected. If we press check, well done, you've selected 1. We choose 2 and press check, excellent, that's number 2. And 3. Brill, that's number 3 you've selected, which is the final case. Now in this particular example there's not a lot of difference between our if, else if, end if and our select case statements. They're both achieving exactly the same thing. They don't look too dissimilar. If anything, the select case statement looks slightly simpler than the if, else if statements. In a future video I'll explain the different scenarios that would require you to use either if, else if, end if or select case. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I've been Pete Gallagher from PJG Creations. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If it's been helpful, please do subscribe to my channel. Thanks very much. Bye.